Welcome to Simple Honest Focus, a conversation on how the simple gospel brings us together in honest community focused on God's mission. My name's Jordan, and this guy over here is...
Hey, Jordan, you're getting really good at that.
I think so. I'm learning the directions.
No, not
What's
the
your
morning,
name?
the intro.
Oh, yeah. I only had to look at it for like 1 second before this one.
You're getting great at that. You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
Hey, yeah, so I'm Rod. Most of y'all, if you've been watching, you know I'm Jordan and he is Rod.
Yes.
Just kidding. Today we have a special guest with us, Jonna. Say hello, Jonna.
Hey, everyone.
So today we want to get back on track with our circle, our loop with what we've been going through with our videos. We talk about the gospel, we talk about community, and today we're talking about missions. Specifically, missions as it involves us interacting with other cultures. One of the things that when we find ourselves in this pandemic, this COVID-19 social distancing, almost insanity, one of the things that makes me think of is some of the experience that I have had in other cultures. I've been to Central and South America and Africa and other places, and it's places where they don't really have anything to begin with. And so what we've experienced now, we've experienced a lot of what some of the things that we've had kind of taken away from us, like going to the movie theaters and visiting our favorite coffee shop, or just going to a restaurant or something. So a lot of these things have been taken away from us. And if we're honest, we're kind of looking around like, what do we do? Like, it's thrown us off so just crazy. It's just thrown us off, if we're honest. But what I've seen is and I've had a few conversations with other people about how what I think we're going to do when we come out of this quarantine and we come out of all this social distancing, shelter in place. I think there's going to be a time when we look back at this time and we say, man, I really miss quarantine. Mm-hmm. Our families were closer together. We were doing things. We would wake up in the morning and literally not have much of a to-do list. And that is so foreign to most everybody in America. And so Jonna and Jordan are going to talk a little bit about their experience just dealing with other cultures. Jordan is part Choctaw.
Yes.
Yes. So one of the things that I've enjoyed in my life is I've spent a lot of time ministering with Native Americans, whether it's Navajo or the Sioux Indians in South Dakota. They're amazing people, and their culture is so different. It's a lot just kind of chilled out and slower than ours. And Jonna has spent a lot of time in Brazil, specifically in areas just that's hard to get to and hard to reach. So why don't you guys talk a little bit about your experience in other cultures and how maybe you can kind of connect your experience in those other cultures to kind of what we're going through right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and be the gentleman here and say ladies first on this one. All right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Points right here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Rod is right. I have spent a lot of time in Brazil. I've also been to South Dakota a few times, Rod, and I've enjoyed that culture too.
How far is that to Mississippi?
How far?
Foreign.
It's a 14-mile trip.
Foreign, is that?
Foreign, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Radically different, right?
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah.
So, in Brazil, the pace is a lot slower. What's happened here in our society is we're so busy every day. We wake up and we have 700 things to do. We stay up late trying to get everything done, and relationship gets on the back burner so easily here. And it's reversed in their culture. They're so relational. We have to kind of deculturize, or whatever the word is, whenever we go over there, to just get out of our culture and the things that we're used to and just slow down when we get there. And it does take some getting used to. they sit around the house generally. If you have a job, you get up and you go to work, and then you come back at lunchtime, you have your meal, and then things shut down for a couple of hours, and you'll see people napping in hedgies, or children are hanging around the house kind of playing a little bit.
Well, hang on.
Well,
Explain what a hedgie is.
a hammock.
Okay.
Dude, I
Yeah.
was thinking like a hoagie bread kind of thing. Like,
Sorry. Culture, right?
That's right.
So people, literally everywhere shuts down, and people sit around and talk together, and rest for a few hours, and just spend time getting to know each other, just seeing what you've been doing, catching up on everything, and then the day picks up a little bit later for the evening.
So I know you well enough to know that you have to kind of coach yourself, your personality. You have to get yourself there, right? How do you?
Right.
What are some challenges there?
I am very task oriented, and I really have to work at the relationship part. And so I just have gotten accustomed to that when I'm there. So when things shut down here for the quarantine, automatically I was like, wow, this is just like Brazil. Like, we're looking around all day, like, what are we going to do? So you know what? We set up some hammocks in the backyard. We got some books out, and we started reading aloud together and hollering at our neighbors across the yard who've now become good friends of ours, and we spend time outside together, and it's been good.
Yeah, that's really cool. Jordan, what just growing up with some Native American blood in you, what are some experiences you've had? No, don't do that.
Look, I can do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't.
Okay, so talk to us, Jordan. What are some experiences you had with the Native American culture, and what can we learn? Like, Johnny, you're talking about like just some great things that we can really, we can grow from that. We can learn from that. What about you, Jordan? Like, what can we learn from some of the Native American culture experiences that you've had?
Yeah, man. So like my dad's side of the family is basically all Choctaw. My dad's 50%. I'm 25, as you can tell, right here. And I remember going to the reservation when I was like 13 or something like that. Like, I spent time on the reservation on and off, but 13 was a really big moment for me because we were helping out the church at the time. And I remember it was kind of like what Jonna was saying, kind of like it started at 5 or something like that. And it was 5:05 or something, and like no one had shown up. And I'm, I grew up around, this culture. And so in my mind, I'm like, where is everybody? Or is it canceled? Did we not know about it? My uncle lived right down the street, like literally a minute walk from the church. I'm like, why isn't he here? Kind of thing. And my dad just looked at me. He's like, son, I have to tell you something. And I was like, okay, what? And he's like, it's not on our time, it's on Choctaw time. And I said, what in the heck is Choctaw time? And so from there, like, I think they showed up maybe 15 minutes later. People started to trickle in maybe. And then when enough people started to get there, we were like, okay, it's time to do church or whatever. And so, with that, I remember going up to the reservation and seeing people just sitting in their home or having cookouts or something like that. I remember going up for my uncle's wedding, and people didn't just stay for the reception, but they stayed after and helped clean up and helped. Really, like, it was just like this huge, granted, we are all family up there, but like in some way or another, but it was just this huge, just relational, like slowed down kind of thing. And so I think like with this COVID, like, one of the things is that we can, it was like Jonna was saying, we can build on these relationships. I think that for so long, even these past 2 weeks, with me starting at the bank and stuff like that, like, people are so fast over there. Like, it's just like, no time to stop, no time to do anything. But, if we just took that time, that COVID's really given us, like, I think, one of the greatest gifts this quarantine has given us is this time to just sit down, with someone and just learn about them, have that relationship with them.
Yeah.
I think that's something that both of us can really just say is that, from any culture, even in Malaysia, they're very relational there. But I think that that's something about this quarantine is that we can really take the time and really invest in people's lives and really make them feel heard.
Yeah, one of the things that happened recently that would have never happened before is my neighbor across the street. She said, "Hey, my barber's here. Do you guys need haircuts?"
I was there.
We're like, "Yes, we need some haircuts." So we ran across the street to our neighbor's house. We were sitting in their carport, and my son was getting a haircut. Like, that would never happen. And I was sitting there in this situation. We were laughing with our neighbor. It was an awesome situation. It really was. And so when I think about what we're talking about, I'm just reminded of just really some glaring flaws in our own culture. Now, every culture is different, and I love living where I live. I love living in the South. I love being where I am. But, there are some flaws in our culture. One of the things that we're so fast. I think both of y'all have mentioned this. We're such a fast-paced culture. We're such in a hurry to speed towards something. It's always something we're running towards, whether it's our own ego, whether we're trying to look better for other people when they look at us, or we're speeding towards our comfort, whether we're trying really hard to, do something at work or grow with our, up the corporate ladder or something. Like, our culture is just so fast paced, and we're just flying down it's like we're flying down the waterway just so fast. And when that happens, it creates this wake. And really, we need to get to where we live in a no wake zone. Is that reversed for you guys, or is it?
No, I see it clear.
Yes, perfect.
We're just in this fast-paced culture where we need to just find this no wake zone where we can just slow down. And when you do that, especially if you're on a river or if you're on the water somewhere, when you do that, you look around and you notice the trees and you notice the grass, and there might be a turtle on the side or something like that. But we will always miss those little things if we just keep just going fast all the time. So we do need to slow down. And I think, Jordan, you're right. Like, this COVID is horrible, but I think I think we're going to school. I think it's teaching us. It's teaching us about us. And, when we're so fast that there's some things that suffer. Like, there's really some things that we speed past when we're such in a hurry. And I think one of the things that we've noticed in all of this is that it's helped us in a way to slow down a little bit. Do you guys got any thoughts about what anybody else has said so far?
I was going to tell you guys the other day, we rode over to our lake and we were watching the sunset, and it was just absolutely stunning. And a few people had come over and were throwing a fishing pole around, and they were just standing. Everybody was just stopped and in awe of the sunset. And then every truck or car that came through pulled off the road and parked in the grass and just got out and just stood and watched. And I was like, God, thank you. You're showing us to slow down and see what you've made. And it was just impressive. It really was.
Yeah, absolutely. And that probably didn't happen a lot before.
Right. Everybody would have just kept zooming by.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about just some of my experience with other cultures and how what we're seeing, like what we're going through, this lesson that we're learning here. And we still, as believers, we still want to, reach out to our culture and pour the love of Christ and pour, the hope and the joy that we have in Jesus. I think that really one of the lessons I think we all need to learn and grow in through all this is just to be just more compassionate. When we're growing towards just building our own man and building our own castle and kingdom, and we find other people pushed away from us. But if we slow down and we have compassion on our neighbors and we have compassion on those around us, like we pray for when we're going on a mission trip or when God give us compassion to love the people that are different than us, and to just slow down and to learn from them.
Mhm.
A verse comes to my mind, is Colossians 3:12. It says, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved," it says, "clothe yourself with compassion." Like, put on a hoodie that says compassion all over it. Compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. I think that this verse maybe is screaming at us during this this COVID-19, this slowdown. I think God wants us to go back to some of these other cultures, in a sense, in our own minds and our own hearts that we've experienced, and He wants to tell us, just clothe yourself with compassion, gentleness, humility, kindness, and patience, and just be that kind of person. And I think that we can do that. I think that in this season we're going through, I think it's like the pandemic, the cultural suffering that we're going through right now, this shelter in place. I think it's kind of laying out a platter for us to live lives of more compassion, more kindness, more humility, more gentleness, and definitely more patience. We're trying to figure out life in this time of slowing down. You guys got any thoughts on that verse or anything?
Man, I was thinking about it, and then like I thought about another thing, and then I thought about another thing. You know how my brain works.
Yeah.
So I realized at like the beginning that I'm always like having a different mug. Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, like each episode that we've had over Zoom, I have a new coffee mug. And I was telling you, like, this is my grandpa's mug. But what came to mind when you were talking about compassion is I remember this story really fondly about one of the things. So my grandpa was in the Border Patrol. And so one of the things that he had to do sometimes was to find illegal immigrants and take them to where they would get shipped off. But the cool thing was that one day he found this family. I think it was like two people, a husband and a wife. And what he did is, instead of immediately taking them to the place where he needed to, this is way back in the day, so, not many rules and regulations, but he took them to his house and he had his wife fix dinner. And it was like the last dinner he was going to have. And then basically they ate dinner together and he treated them with compassion. And then he said, I have to do my job and take you. So they were saying, okay. And so they left. But the cool thing is that they came back and they actually opened up a restaurant actually downtown next to Monster Subs. And so my mom, I'm not throwing out names, but because we aren't sponsored by them yet. But if you want to throw in some free chimichangas, your boy loves them. All right. But anyway, but the cool thing is that they never forgot that act of kindness. And so they actually, got in contact with my grandpa, and my grandpa helped them, set up a new life once they came here legally. But, the thing is that, my grandpa wasn't a Christian at the time, but I'm just thinking about, like, if we had compassion on our neighbors, if we had compassion for the people that we see in everyday life, not just for those special instances like my grandpa had, but he left a lasting impression and did something he went out of his way to do, right? But if we do that in this COVID time, when we have all the time in the world, when we can go out and do things out of our way, the things that we keep on putting off daily, how much of a witness could we be for Jesus, the loving and caring Savior of the world? How much of a witness could we be for that? And how much of a lasting impact could we make in their lives and maybe in their future of salvation? And so I was just thinking about that, and I was like, man, like that's something that we can all do during this like time, is show compassion, but go out of our way to go and do things that might even seem uncomfortable to us. Anyway, that was my thought out of a coffee mug.
Johnny, you got any thoughts on that?
I was just going to say, I think if everybody would just start where they are and just be missional where you are. We have neighbors on each side of us, and we just are taking every day and just really looking at it as an opportunity. Like, God, you gave us this extra time, and it's for a reason. And so we've not only been pouring into our children, but getting to know the neighbors around us a lot better and spending time with them And I'm just thankful for the opportunity. We always see them in passing, how we did before, and would wave and say, hey, how are you, and keep going. But now we're really getting to know each other, and it's just been a good time. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, it's like we've all just kind of slowed down, and we're noticing things close around us because we're all in this no wake zone right now.
Right. Yeah.
So notice your neighbor. Notice your notice the person that lives across the street from you. Notice things that's going on right under your very nose, and ask God to help you be compassionate. Maybe be sensitive to needs that are right in front of you. So that's awesome, guys. Thanks for joining, Jonna. Thanks for joining me and Jordan on our conversation we've been having.
I enjoyed it.
I don't think I'll ever get sick of Jordan, but it is great to have a guest on our little vlog, or what do we call this, Jordan? Like, what is this, a video?
It's a conversation, dude. This is just a conversation.
Right, because you say it all the time. This is just a conversation about how the simple gospel drives us to intentional community that leads us to mission, right?
Honest community, but yeah, you got it. You got it.
I wrote that and I messed it up.
And don't tell people that. They thought that I came up with it. Now you just let the cat out of the bag.
Jordan came up with that. He's so smart. Okay, you guys got any other thoughts before we close it down? We're all bobbleheads now. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to Simple, Honest, Focus, and we'll see you back next week.
Yeah. See you next week. Bye.
Slow down.
All right. I'm going to get the pointers down too next week. So, yeah. All right. Bye.